Have you ever felt like something is just off? Like you're constantly walking on eggshells, drained of energy, second guessing yourself, but you can't figure out why? Maybe you've blamed stress, work, or even your own mood. But what if the real problem isn't any of those things? What if the real reason behind your exhaustion is someone sitting right next to you? Sometimes it's not life, it's a person. And that person may be more toxic than you realize. She might look kind to others. She might even smile sweetly, say the right things in public, and appear charming to everyone else. But behind closed doors, she's cold, manipulative, and calculated. Her power lies in keeping you confused and making you believe that everything is your fault. And the scariest part? She doesn't even need to raise her voice to destroy your peace. Today, we're going to reveal 7 clear and shocking signs that there might be an evil woman in your life right now. Not just difficult, not just complicated, but someone who thrives on control, chaos, and emotional destruction. Some of these signs are subtle, almost invisible. Others are bold, but so well disguised that you'd never think twice about them unless someone pointed them out. That's what this video is here to do. If you've ever wondered why you're losing confidence, why you feel isolated, nervous, or emotionally numb, you might be dealing with someone who knows exactly what she's doing and is doing it on purpose. By the end of this video, you'll be able to recognize these signs, protect yourself from manipulation, and understand how emotional evil doesn't always come with red flags waving in the wind. Sometimes it comes wrapped in love, charm, and even laughter. These aren't just common traits you can Google. We've uncovered lesser-known behavioral patterns that psychologists have studied, but most people overlook patterns often dismissed until it's too late. You'll hear about emotional gaslighting, covert cruelty, weaponized kindness, and even how some women use empathy as a disguise to mask control. You'll also discover real-life situations and mindsets that trap people into staying around these toxic personalities. We're going beyond the surface, and we're not here to judge, we're here to awaken. So stick around. Each point will connect another piece of the puzzle. And by the end, you won't just be more aware, you'll be armed with the clarity and strength to draw a line, say no, and walk away if you need to. Welcome to Motive Alchemy, the place where awareness meets transformation. If this video speaks to you already, it's because you're not imagining things, and you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a truth bomb that might just save your peace or even your life. Let's begin. She doesn't yell. She doesn't need to. Her weapon is her words, sharpened by quiet judgment and silent disapproval. At first, it's subtle. A small remark here, a joke there. Maybe she comments on your clothes, that shirt again, or makes a face when you talk about your dreams. That's not really realistic, is it? It doesn't seem like a big deal in the moment, but over time those words pile up. Little bricks of doubt stacked on your shoulders. And soon, everything you do feels wrong. You start hesitating before you speak. You second guess your decisions. Not because you've lost your mind, but because she's been slowly chipping away at your confidence. She disguises it as helping. She'll say she's being honest, that she's just trying to make you better. But if you really look at it, there's no support in her words, only control. Because if you feel small, she gets to feel powerful. You could bring her good news. Maybe you got a promotion, launched something new, or took a personal risk that paid off. But instead of sharing your excitement, she finds the one flaw in the story. She questions how long it'll last. She reminds you of who's done it better. She waters down your success until it tastes like failure. Why? Because deep down, she's not proud of you. She's intimidated by you. Your confidence threatens her control, so she breaks it down piece by piece. This isn't normal criticism. This is targeted erosion. She doesn't give feedback to help you grow. She gives feedback to make sure you shrink. You might think, maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe she doesn't mean it that way. But that's part of the trap, because her tone is calm. Her words are carefully chosen. There's just enough truth in what she says to make it feel valid. But underneath, there's poison. And when you try to express how you feel, she flips the script. Which brings us to something darker, something more dangerous than criticism: gaslighting. She doesn't just criticize you, she rewrites your reality. She says things, then denies she ever said them. You bring up a conversation, and suddenly you're the crazy one. I never said that. You're imagining things. Wow, you really overreact to everything, don't you? At first, you argue. You try to prove yourself. You replay conversations in your mind, wondering if you really did misunderstand. But over time, you stop trusting your own memory, your own gut. You start asking her what really happened, even though you were there. That's when she knows she's won. Because now, she's not just shaping how others see you, she's shaping how you see yourself. Gaslighting is not just lying, it's psychological warfare. It's intentional confusion. And it's always about control. Because if you can't trust your mind, then you have to rely on hers. And that's exactly where she wants you: dependent, doubting, and obedient. It doesn't end there. She makes sure you feel guilty too. When something goes wrong, even when it's clearly her doing, the blame ends up on you. Every time. You forgot. You misunderstood. You pushed her. You made her act that way. Even her worst behavior gets justified because in her story, you're always the trigger. This constant reversal of blame is not by accident. It's a tactic. It keeps you apologizing. It keeps you in a cycle of proving your worth, trying harder, doing more just to earn her approval. But the truth is, you'll never get it. Because she's not looking for connection. She's looking for control. And as long as you're confused and off balance, she's in charge. You might notice how careful you've become, how you explain yourself more than usual, how you hesitate before saying what you really feel. That's not because you're too sensitive. It's because she's taught you that your truth doesn't matter, that her version of reality is the only one that counts. This kind of emotional manipulation doesn't always look dramatic. It can be quiet. It can be subtle, but it's destructive. It leaves you exhausted, not just emotionally, but mentally, spiritually, and even physically. You feel tired, but you can't explain why. You feel broken, but there's no visible wound. And that's what makes it so hard to recognize. There are no bruises, just doubts, confusion, guilt, shame. And still, somehow, she always looks calm, composed, like nothing's wrong, because she knows how to play the part. She knows how to shift the story. And most people never see what happens behind closed doors. But if this sounds familiar, if any part of this feels uncomfortably close to your own experience, then trust that voice inside you. That small whisper that says something isn't right because you're not imagining it and you're not overreacting. You're seeing something real, something deeply harmful. And the first step to healing is seeing it clearly. You try to talk to her. You bring up something that hurt you, maybe something she said, something she did. You speak calmly. You don't raise your voice. You try to explain how it made you feel. But before you can finish, the tears start. Not yours, hers. Suddenly, She's the one in pain. She's the one who's misunderstood. She's the one who's always trying her best, and no one appreciates her. The conversation is no longer about what she did to hurt you. Now it's about how you hurt her by even bringing it up. That's how it begins. She never takes responsibility. She never says, "You're right. I hurt you. I see that now." Instead, she shifts the spotlight back onto herself. She flips the narrative so quickly and so smoothly, you don't even notice it at first. One minute you're sharing your feelings, and the next you're apologizing for her behavior. You walk away from the conversation confused, ashamed, and unsure of what even happened. This isn't just defensiveness, it's a pattern, a strategy. She plays the victim because it gives her power. Because if she's the one who's always suffering, then she's never the one to blame. And she plays it well. She knows how to get sympathy. She knows how to make herself look small, broken, fragile. To the outside world, she seems like the kind one, the emotional one, the misunderstood one. But what people don't see is how she uses that image as a shield, because no one wants to believe the crying woman is capable of cruelty. She'll tell stories that paint her as the constant victim of her past relationships, her family, her job, her friends. You start to notice a pattern. Everyone in her life has wronged her. Everyone is cruel to her. Everyone else is toxic except her. And if you ever try to pull back, if you try to set a boundary or take space, she tells people you abandoned her. You treated her badly. You were emotionally distant. And because she's already painted herself as the one who's always hurting, they believe her. Now, not only are you struggling to find your own voice, you're also being misunderstood by everyone else. This tactic is dangerous. It isolates you. It makes you doubt your own character. It makes you afraid to speak up because you know what will follow. The tears, the accusations, the guilt. But there's something even colder beneath the surface. Because when someone always plays the victim, they don't leave room for anyone else's pain. And when she doesn't see your pain, when she ignores it or mocks it, that's when you start to realize something deeper is missing. Empathy. She doesn't have it. At least, not for you. You could be going through something hard. A family loss, financial stress, a mental health spiral. And she acts like it's an inconvenience. Like your struggle is a burden she's forced to carry. She may not say it outright, but it shows. In the way she rolls her eyes when you talk about your emotions. In the way she changes the subject back to herself. In the way she mocks your vulnerability when no one's around to hear it. You could be breaking, crying, spiraling, and she sits there cold, unmoved, maybe even annoyed that your pain is stealing attention from her, maybe even angry that you're not stronger. And in some cases, she might smile, just a little, because your suffering reminds her she still has power. That's the hardest part to admit, the possibility that she actually enjoys it. Because when you hurt, she wins. When you're weak, she feels strong. And it's not always about what she says. It's about what she doesn't say. The silence, the lack of comfort, the way she watches you fall apart, not with concern, but with satisfaction. Empathy is about presence. It's about being there, listening, holding space for another person without judgment or agenda. But when someone has no empathy, they don't see you as a person with real feelings. They see you as a tool, a mirror, a character in their story. Your emotions are only valid when they serve her. And if they don't, she disregards them or uses them against you. You might try harder. You might think, if I can just explain it better, she'll understand. But you'll find yourself repeating the same conversation over and over again. And every time you leave feeling worse because she's not listening. She's not trying to understand. She's trying to maintain control. And if your emotions get in the way of that, they're either dismissed or weaponized. Eventually, you learn to stay quiet. You stop sharing. You stop hoping for comfort or understanding. Because every time you reach out, you get burned. And that is exactly where she wants you, silenced, isolated, and unsure. And still, the outside world sees none of this. They see her tears, her heartbreak, her carefully curated pain, and they rush to her side because that's how she built the story. And you're the one who looks distant. You're the one who's pulled back. You're the one who stopped trying. No one knows what she says to you when no one's listening. No one sees the way she turns your emotions into weaknesses, your vulnerability into ammunition. And when you finally start to notice it, when you start to connect the dots, it's terrifying. Because realizing someone close to you feels no real empathy, that's like waking up in a house you thought was safe, only to realize the fire's been burning behind the walls the whole time. It doesn't happen overnight. The harm is slow. It's layered. It builds quietly through years of minimizing your pain, through countless moments where your feelings were met with indifference or cruelty. And one day you wake up and you don't even recognize yourself. But deep down, that small voice, the one that kept whispering that something wasn't right, it never left. It's still there, and it's still trying to protect you. At first, you might think she's just a little competitive. Maybe she makes sarcastic jokes when something good happens for you. Or maybe she downplays your accomplishments. It's not that impressive, she says with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. You shrug it off. You tell yourself she's just having a bad day, or maybe she doesn't mean it the way it sounds. But slowly, it becomes a pattern. She doesn't celebrate your wins. Not really. When something great happens, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, a personal breakthrough, her reaction is flat. Or worse, it's critical. You're excited, proud, nervous, maybe. You want someone to say, "I'm so happy for you." But instead, she shifts the conversation. She talks about herself. She brings up her own success or her own struggles, anything to pull the spotlight back onto her. Because your happiness threatens her. Your joy reminds her of what she doesn't have, and instead of being inspired by you, she becomes resentful. You notice it more when others are around. If people praise you, she finds a way to undercut it. A comment, a sigh, a quick change of subject. If someone compliments you, she steps in to one-up it. If you're the center of attention, she finds a way to steal it or ruin it. She might start an argument, or bring up something awkward from the past, or suddenly have an emergency that pulls everyone away from your moment. It doesn't feel like jealousy at first. It feels confusing, like maybe you did something wrong by shining too brightly, like you should tone yourself down just a little. But the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. She just doesn't know how to connect with others without comparing. She doesn't know how to celebrate without competing. And that's not love. That's insecurity dressed up as closeness. True connection means we feel joy for the people we care about. Their success doesn't threaten us, it lifts us. But when someone is deeply insecure, another person's rise feels like their fall. So they grab for control in the only way they know how, by trying to make you feel smaller. You start to hide things. You downplay your good news. You stop sharing your joy. Not because you're not proud, but because you know how she'll react. And the more you shrink, the more she seems content. Because your silence is her comfort. Your dim light is her safety. But it doesn't stop there. Because the moment you start asserting yourself, your needs, your voice, your truth, she pushes back hard. That's where the boundary breaking begins. Maybe you ask for space, time to think, time to breathe. She shows up anyway. Maybe you say you don't want to talk about something and she brings it up again and again until you give in. She crosses the line, and when you call it out, she says, I was just worried, or you're being too sensitive. But it's not about care, it's about control. She invades your personal space, maybe physically, maybe emotionally. She goes through your phone, reads your messages, checks your social media. She asks questions that aren't hers to ask. She expects access to your thoughts, your time, your attention all the time. And if you say no, she gets offended, hurt, angry. Suddenly, you're the one with the problem. Boundaries don't threaten healthy people, they protect relationships. But to her, your boundary feels like rejection, like punishment. So she pushes back, not with understanding, but with pressure. She makes you feel guilty for protecting yourself. You might say, I need a night to myself, and she accuses you of being cold or distant. You might say, that conversation made me uncomfortable, and she accuses you of being dramatic. Every time you speak up for your own needs, she frames it as an attack on her. And slowly you start second guessing your own limits. You wonder if maybe you're being too rigid, too selfish. But the truth is, you're just trying to protect your peace, and she's making that feel wrong. She masks her control with care. She'll say she just wants what's best for you. She just wants to be close. She just wants to help. But real help doesn't ignore someone's no. Real closeness respects space. Real care honors consent emotionally and physically. And that's what she won't give you. Instead, she wraps her need for control and concern. She crosses the line, then tells you it's love. She tests your boundaries, then calls it connection. She makes her behavior your responsibility. And if you push back, you're made to feel like the bad one. Over time, you stop asserting yourself. You stop setting limits. It feels easier to let her have her way than deal with the fallout. But in that silence, you lose pieces of yourself. You become smaller, quieter, more disconnected from what you want and need. And that's exactly what she wants, because the more you disappear, the easier it is for her to stay in control. It might take you months or years to realize what's happening, because the manipulation isn't always loud. It's not always obvious. It can come through soft voices and tender words. But your body knows. Your heart knows. That tightness in your chest when she walks into the room. That dread when she calls. That exhaustion after a single conversation. That's not normal. That's your nervous system trying to protect you from something it knows is harmful, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. And here's what's even more painful. People like her don't always look evil. They can be charming, generous, attentive, especially in public. But behind closed doors, the pattern is the same: undermining your wins, ignoring your no, taking more than you want to give, making you feel guilty for wanting peace. That's not love, that's control. And once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. You wake up to a calm morning. Everything feels quiet, still, maybe even safe for a moment. Then suddenly there's a shift, a message, a tone, a cold silence you weren't expecting. Something's wrong, but you don't know what. She doesn't say it outright, not yet. She lets you feel it first. Then it starts. An accusation that comes out of nowhere. A fight that starts over something small and harmless, your tone. A look a text. She says you ignored her, or that you weren't honest, or that she just knows you're hiding something. You try to reason with her, explain, stay calm, but that only makes it worse. Because this isn't about the truth, it's about control. She doesn't want peace. Peace makes her feel invisible, unimportant, so she stirs the water just to see you scramble. And once you're off balance, she has the power again. She'll bring up things from the past that were already resolved. She'll reopen old wounds. She'll twist your words and feed off your reactions. You'll start to wonder if maybe you are the one overreacting. Maybe you are the one causing the tension. But deep down, you know this chaos wasn't yours. And it's not just with you. She talks about others constantly who wronged her, who betrayed her, who doesn't deserve their success. She gossips to you and about you. It's a web of conflict she spins to keep herself at the center. Because when everyone's fighting, no one's looking too closely at her. The drama becomes exhausting. You never know what version of her you're going to get. And that unpredictability keeps you anxious, alert, constantly guessing. That's not an accident, it's how she maintains control. If you're too busy putting out fires, you won't notice she's the one lighting them. And even when things feel calm, it's only temporary. The next explosion is always waiting, because true emotional stability would mean she has to face her own emptiness, her own fear of not being special, not being needed. So instead, she chooses chaos and drags you into it again and again. Recognizing these signs is the first step to protecting your peace. You deserve a life free from manipulation, cruelty, and fear. A life where your feelings are respected, your boundaries are honored, and your light isn't dimmed to make someone else feel more powerful. If any of these signs hit close to home, take a step back and look deeper. The truth might be hard to face, but it could set you free. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. And you're not alone. Your peace matters. Your healing matters. And it all begins with awareness. If this video helped you see things more clearly, give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to Motive Alchemy for more truth, guidance, and strength. You're not here by accident. You're here because it's time.